Hey Nicole, alright, so here is your past life spread. So again, what we're going to do is look and see where you are, what you did with the majority of your time, a couple of important days with the relationships and feelings involved, the death and lesson learned, with hints of time throughout, and then we got a little extra card that popped out over here, so I'm going to pay attention to that because that doesn't happen a lot. Again, I'm just going to relay to you images and impressions coming through, and your job is to make connections where you can, and I will help. In addition, there were stuff coming through as I've been doing these readings. More stuff comes through during the shuffling and laying, and sometimes it's not related to the past life thing. So I did want to mention that just in case it's not related to the past life thing. And I'll bring that up afterwards, okay? And I'm just saying that now in case I forget to bring it up afterwards, and then you can ask me about it. So let's start with the past life reading. So I felt very much like this reading had to do with you and your work, where you're going from here. What else? Something about, okay, so it's where you work, it's who you work with, and it also is coming through particularly because you're done birthing children. Even if you have a child in the future, another child, at the moment, your body isn't being used as a vessel, so to speak, in that way anymore. I don't know if you're breastfeeding or anything like that, but you don't have a kid in the womb anymore. So I feel like there's going to be stuff coming up about that because it's what it felt like. Sorry, I meant to keep this till after the reading. So let's just start here and we'll go through and see what comes up as we're going through. Okay, so where we're starting is the Americas, and it's interesting because it's not giving me a very specific location except to say that there is specifically a pyramid there. It's and I do want to say it's going to be like South America, somewhere in South America. I don't know, maybe if I talk some more, they'll give me some more information, but it doesn't feel very specific. It just specifically wants me to note that there is a pyramid because that is very important, because this is talking about connecting with metaphysical forces. Also, like the pyramid is supposed to feel like it's part of nature. It feels like we're part of a large community. It feels like we are going back in a time where most everything is like, it feels tribal or large communities. It does not feel modern at all. It feels like we're looking at a female life that's going to have some masculine tendencies to it. Feels like we're looking at someone who is like an only child or the oldest child, which plays a part, it feels like. Okay, so okay, so just right there, any connections you could be making. One, are you pulled to South America at all? Are you pulled to South America, the native tribes that we hear about, the indigenous people? Particularly, have you seen photos of pyramids in South America and felt drawn to them, want to visit them? It could be as well known as Machu Picchu, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. In fact, what I'd like for you to do is actually find photos online of pyramids that they are discovering now that are not well known yet, that are more just like the lesser pyramids, so to speak, but they all have such great power to them and were utilized at least at one time in a way that they aren't today, and you had a part in that. So if you've ever been drawn to pyramids in general, it doesn't even have to be South America. If you're drawn to those ancient pyramids that are being unearthed, you hear about them, you read about them, if that's something that's really pulling at you, there is a connection there. You're connected with pyramids. This can also mean what I feel like is coming through is if you feel like you want to increase your gifts, or you want to grow your gifts, or you want to become more, I hate the word spiritual because it can mean so many things, but it more like if you want to be more connected with yourself and your power or your gifts or your development, whatever it is, that part of you that you want to bring out and develop more, I would definitely look at surrounding yourself with a pyramid or pyramids in the way of how they sell certain, like they'll sell crystal pyramids. You can meditate with these crystal pyramids and they will increase by intention and your consciousness, they will increase that, whatever you're going after. Hold on. So it could also be pictures of pyramids, because what's happening is the pyramid is sacred geometry. The pyramid in itself, even just looking at it, just like how you would look at pieces of art that was done by light workers or energy workers, and the art is imbued with energy that our energetic body connects with. It's the same with you and pyramids. So just try it. You don't have to spend a lot, or maybe you have a friend that wants to get rid of like a crystal pyramid, whatever it is. I just want to say what's coming through is definitely to try to meditate with a crystal pyramid. And it's coming through as like a quartz or an amethyst or something like that. So keep that in mind and try it out and see what happens. Try it a couple times, that kind of thing. Or see, put a picture there. Do something where the energy of the pyramid is around you. And it's the funniest thing, because a lot of people are like, well, it's a picture. How is it affecting me? Everything has energy, again. So the shape of the pyramid is sacred geometry. And sacred geometry affects you even when you're imagining it. That's why in a lot of my visualizations or group work or solo, whatever it is, there is visualization that involves a pyramid, that involves certain colored lights, do you know what I mean? Because just the visualization itself, the fact that you can visualize that means that you are able to bring the energy that goes with that shape or that color or the frequency of it. That means you're able to bring it into your energetic body, right? So when you see it in person, like in the physical plane, like a picture on the wall, it's even more so because us humans like to have that physical stuff. It's so much easier for us. It's why we call it tools. It's why we do rituals, because we're holding it and we're smelling it and we're seeing it, and it makes it more real, which only reinforces the meta part of it that we can't see, if that makes sense. So keep that in mind. Okay, the idea of being a female with male energy. So if you feel balanced, if your energies are very balanced between masculine and feminine in this life, that makes sense, because I feel like that's what the goal is here, was to bring masculine energy to your feminine energy and to be able to balance it and utilize it in very special ways here. So it does feel like there was a learning or training involved here that would translate over to your current life. Just means that you would feel balanced energy. It would also explain any masculine traits you might have, like if you grew up a tomboy or anything like that. Or if you feel like you have a right to do things in this life that maybe a lot of other gals wouldn't automatically assume that it's okay for them. It's hard to put it any other way except for that. So however you take that, if that clicks with you, there's a connection there, and if not, that's fine. This can also speak to any connection you might feel as far as learning about indigenous tribes, indigenous people, if you feel pulled to Native American, or again, any indigenous, it could be Inuit, if you're pulled to the indigenous people. This also feels, again, like we're back in time. It does not feel modern. It could be that the modern world is going on around them, but they're not touched by it yet. It does feel like we're looking at, though, more like what we would consider, I don't even know what we consider ancient anymore, because there's just it's just so old. The world is so old. So, but it does feel what I guess we could say is ancient, but really it's like pre-discovery, pre-civilized by white man kind of thing, or I guess pre-conquered, we should say, by white man. And it does, so it feels like we're looking, this could be before the year 1000. It could be even before, it could even be like before AD kind of thing. It just feels very, very old, but at the same time, it feels very organized in this place. Okay, that's what I'm getting from here. So keep making connections to this card. We're going to go to what you did with the majority of your time here is the Life at Sea card. The water card. So it feels like you live near enough to water. It doesn't feel like you live on the coast, but it feels like you live near it where you can travel there. It feels like traveling there is used for purposes, almost like a quest. And it feels like I'm getting this card for you because if this card signifies quests for these people, then it feels like your life is a quest. It's like a dual quest, because one, you're a female and it feels like the females are not used to pursuing what you are pursuing, which I feel is almost shamanistic. And it feels like here it's not really a female thing to do, or not just female, it feels like it's a limited, like they only allow a limited amount of people to train for this shamanistic lifestyle, and you're so pulled towards it, and it's almost like from a young age you automatically naturally adapt to it. It's like you take to it so well that people allow you to do it, but then you reach it's like you reach puberty is what it feels like, and that's when it gets really hard, because then all of a sudden your usefulness in the community becomes one of being a womb, being a vessel to bring forth life. And that's very sacred, but at the same time, it's not the same as what you're pursuing as a shaman or a shaman in training. And I feel like you've gotten so much training up to this point of puberty that you're for sure, this is my path, and then all of a sudden it's like the elders or your parents or whatever it is, because it feels like the whole village is involved when it comes to the children, but it feels like there's a lot of dissent. So this place is not, it doesn't feel like this place has a lot of confrontation, but when it comes to what's happening with you becoming a young woman, there starts to be a little bit of a dissent over here, whereas people over here are like, no, this is what she's meant to be doing. So it really is weird, because it feels like your fate depends on others, and those that are older than you, and those that are in charge. And so in your current life, you might have had or still have an issue when it comes to authority, having a boss, being micromanaged. Even in your marriage or your relationships in the past, if you have had to struggle with feeling like your partner is in control, and maybe that's even why you may have left certain relationships in the past, because you felt managed, or you felt like you didn't feel like, I hate to say the alpha, but more like you didn't feel like you were an equal with the partner, or you felt like the partner was kind of dominating. So if you've ever come across a dominating authority figure in your life, whether, again, a boss, a relationship, like a romantic partner, or even if you chose parents that are very controlling, or family, friend, whatever it is, if you find that you've put yourself in the path of people who are dominating and had to fight your way out from under it, or left it feeling like this isn't right for me, that would come from here. That's stemming from here, because here it's like almost like everyone is at the mercy. Not that I don't feel like they like punished anyone hardcore or anything, but you're at the mercy of what the elders and the authority thinks, because that's just how things rolled here. That's how the peace was kept. So here it's a very turbulent time in your puberty, so in your current life, if you felt when you hit puberty, if that was a hard time for you, it's a hard time for, I think, everyone, a lot of, especially women. But if you feel like during that time when you're going through puberty, not only are you dealing with like the physical crap and emotional crap of yourself of growing up, but also if you feel like that at that time you noticed, if you look back, people were in your life that were controlling or trying to tell you what to do or telling you how to feel or things like that. So if that was the case, if your puberty was a particularly tough time when it came to actually other people, dealing with other people, again, not just your own physical stuff, then that would be a connection here. Also, the idea of connecting to water. If you feel like you're drawn to be near water for therapy or peace, calmness, get away from stress, I would encourage you to keep going to the water. If you don't go to the water, go there. I would definitely stress that you should go there. Even like they're showing me you bringing your youngest child to the water, in the way of being able to at least know you're near the water. So you might, if you can hear the water, smell the water, if the blue is very visible, that kind of thing. It's just showing me you being there, and it's very peaceful. So that would be a message for you to make sure you go to the water. Also, this feels like there's something very bonding about the water. If you were to bring your youngest there with you, there's going to be bonding. It's almost like you're setting a precedent for a place where you two can always come and meet in peace and discuss things and solve problems. I've never had that before. I'm just saying what I feel. What else? the idea of doing things that are not considered normal for you, what others might consider normal for you. There's these hidden gifts in you. There are gifts you need to start tapping into where you're going to have to put anyone's opinion to the side so that you can, I feel like the word is continue to develop these gifts, because I feel like they're stemming from this life at least. So I'm going to go to the first important day and keep connecting to this however you can. So the first important day here is so long, farewell, until we meet again card. This is the soulmate card. And this is the card of pride. So what this feels like is, it feels like they left us in your puberty up here. So now we're coming to your puberty right here. It's kind of linear. Sometimes, a lot of times it's not linear reading, but this seems to be right now at least. It feels like you are, or have in some way, were able to put off an arranged union or an arranged marriage. And it's very hard and difficult because of the development you're doing with your gifts, learning whether it's psychic or healing, whatever it is, you're very in tune. So you know that this union and arrangement, if you were to take it up and go with that path, you know that path would still be good and viable for you. At the same time, your excitement and passion lies over here in this path. And this path over here is the shaman path, the putting this part off. I don't feel like, it's not like the shamans aren't sexual or have partners, but it feels like at this time you're not ready for that because you're so deeply engrossed in learning the workings of magic, the workings of the shamanistic qualities, the techniques, the herbs, the patience, the mind journeying, the healing aspect. You feel it in you, and it's so exciting to you. It feels so good. It's the right, like, it makes you vibrate physically. So you know that this day, what you do is correct for you, but it does kind of throw everyone into a connipshit because it's almost like no one's ever done it before. And again, this feels like you are saying farewell to the arranged marriage. And the soulmate card, again, is the one that you were supposed to marry. And people in this tribe, everyone's very in tune in this tribe. So for them to have arranged the marriage between you two, it would have been done in a manner of, it has nothing to do with riches, it has nothing to do with your family, it has to do with them tapping in and tuning in to what is right. So it is, in fact, this union would have been just as right for you in this pathway, but you chose your other path. We all have a lot of paths. And I feel like this is being brought up for you, and the pride comes in because you know it's the right thing. So I feel like this is being brought up as a message for you to reassure you that if you're coming across a fork in the road, whatever path you choose will be right for you. So don't allow yourself to hesitate or to stall making a decision past what you know is correct and right. So, you know, like we'll hem and haw. We'll go, oh, I don't know. You know what is more exciting to you. You know what will bring you most joy. What may be holding you back could be feeling bad about someone that's involved in the choice where they might not get their way. So you have to remember, you have to make your choices based on you and what is right for you. It's not selfish. If someone's let down because you decided to go one way, that's a lesson for them to learn. They need to learn how to cope with being let down. They need to learn how to cope also with being able to work with people who have a mind of their own and want to do what they want to do. So, for example, you may have a friend where you go to the friend and you tell them what's up in your life, and they come up with a solution. And you don't want to take that solution, even though it sounds really good. You know that it sounds good, it feels right, they know what they're talking about, but over here, this is what pulls at my heart, this is my passion, this feels more right to me. You need to be able to make that choice over the choice of what another person is suggesting that does sound good, and you know that they have your best interests in mind, and they might be disappointed. but you got to let people deal with their disappointment and deal with their stuff, because it's a lesson for them. Your choice is a lesson for you to stand in your truth, in your choice, and move forward. But this is also a lesson for you to allow others to learn to deal with the aftermath of your choices. And that's for them to deal with. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. But this is a message of reassurance that whatever you choose to do, it will be good and right, and it will be the right path. Because every path that you see available to you means that it is a viable choice for you, and you will learn the right lessons that you are meant to learn by taking that choice and going down that path. But it's not for you to look, 10 years ahead and think of, oh, what am I going to learn then? That's always good, I guess, to like kind of, look to the future sometimes. But in the moment, stay with that moment and stay present and make the choice based on the present moment of what feels best and right to you. Because that's your intuition, that's your guides, that's your higher self. They're all telling you what to do. You know what's right. We always know what's right. It may feel confusing, but we ultimately know what we want to do. So make sure that you're going with that choice. Soulmate card. This could play into your current life in your current life, if you find that the one you're with, your partner at this time, is your soulmate, and you find that everything has aligned to bring you together and it is working well in that way, this could actually be this person here coming back so that you can complete that karmic union. And it feels that way. Doesn't, it has to resonate with you, but that's what it feels like, why they're showing me this in particular, because the soulmate does not always have to mean romantic. In fact, a lot of times it doesn't, but in this case it does. But also, this also, I feel like, is coming through as far as when you make choices and this soulmate is now involved, it's okay. Like, even what your partner... If your partner seems to have a hardship with your choices in any way, he's along for the ride. So don't hesitate in your choice that feels so right to you. Don't hesitate, because any hardship that he may be going through based on your choice, he also signed up for. Even if he doesn't remember, before you guys were born, we all make contracts. He signed up for it, he's going to learn from it, and it's going to benefit him in the long run. He just has to stick it out and go with it. And I feel like he's actually really good about sticking it out and going with it, whatever it may be. So keep that in mind and don't let anyone hold you back, because this is what's coming up, because this person... At this time, she didn't let anyone hold her back, and this was more constrictive of a society than it is even now. I mean, they're peaceful and they're loving, but we have a lot more freedoms as female, and we have a lot more independence as women nowadays than it felt like here. Again, we don't have arranged marriages where we are now. We have parents that like to suggest things, but it's not legally arranged marriages here. Whereas here it feels, again, very like arranged, but you got out of it. So this would speak to a feeling also that you may carry in your current life, that no matter what, you'll be able to get out of it. No matter what, you'll be able to survive and move on and pull through. That inner strength that you have, that has never left you. I feel like that is a continuous thread that runs through all of your beings, all of your aspects, your entire soul. So you can rely on that and you can trust it. You can trust your inner strength to carry you through anything. It does, and again, I know I said it when I laid this, it feels like your career path, and it does. It feels like, I want to say, if you are pulled towards any other modality to start to develop, in fact, I hate to say develop, more like you're not going to be learning anything new, Nicole. You're going to be basically acquiring memory back or remembering things because you already have it. So if you are being pulled in a particular direction to try new things, you need to go for it, especially, again, if you feel the excitement in you. That excitement is going to carry you through developing that gift or redeveloping, bringing it back so that you can be a master of it very shortly, in a short amount of time, as long as you're focusing on the excitement and pursuing it and not allowing yourself to be distracted or to be realigned with other things that others may suggest to you just because they sound easier, or they sound more correct, I guess, if that makes sense. So, for example, you might be interested in trying something new that you've never talked about before, but you came across it came across your radar for a reason. Honor that. There's a reason for that. So someone in your life might be like, you've never talked about this before, you never wanted to do this before, why now? Are you sure? Maybe you won't want to do this in a month. Maybe don't spend the money, don't waste your time. If you hear any of that from anyone, F that. Like, even you could, I mean, if it's your partner, just be like, I know, and then just do it anyway. Basically, I'm just saying, make sure you are paying attention to where your GPS system, your internal guidance system, is pointing you. And go move towards it, because even if you move towards it and that's not the exact thing you're going to end up doing, it's still going to get you steps closer in the right direction. Where let's just say you're like, oh, I'm interested in shamanism, okay? So you take a step where you go to a class and you learn about something there, and that thing you learn about, that's the thing. You're like, this is it. I don't care about the rest of this shaman stuff. Maybe I'll finish the class or whatever, but that's the thing I really want to focus on, and that'll take you in this direction. You know what I mean? So you just never know what you'll come across. That's why it's so important to follow your excitement. It's the same thing with like, oh, I really feel like painting a painting with acrylic painting. All of a sudden, you never been artistic before, and all of a sudden you want to paint with acrylics, and you go to the store to buy the acrylics, but then you find something next to the acrylics that you've never even heard of before that you can use to create art, and you're like, this is the thing I really want to do, but I didn't know it because I didn't even know it existed, but my excitement and desire pulled me into this art, this literal section of art where the acrylics are, but actually right here is where I want to be. You see? So that's why it's always important to follow your gut. It's not always going to be the exact thing that you think of at first. It may be just the stepping stone to lead you to where you need to be, if that makes sense. So keep making connections here where you can. This pride card, I feel very much though, is just a little bit of like a burst of confidence for you, a message of make sure that you stay steadfast in that pursuit of excitement. Don't veer, okay? Let's go to the next important day. Keep making connections where you can. So this day here is the move, let's go card. And it's funny because you have two cards here that are kind of movement cards. They're evoking a sense of like leaving or moving, or which is interesting. It doesn't mean that you are leaving or moving. It can mean that you're leaving a certain mindset at this time in your life. You're leaving a certain goal that you once had for yourself, and you're changing it up. It could mean that if you're considering leaving, whether it's your workplace or your home or whatever it is, that could be being brought up for a reason. And if anything, it would be, again, if you feel in your gut the excitement of moving, even if it's scary, change is scary, but if you feel the excitement there, this would just be a message for you to follow that. Don't let it fade away. Go with it. It's for a reason. Okay, so the move card, and then it's with family. So the family's involved, and when I pick this card up for family here, it actually feels like it's the whole village, the whole tribe. It feels like everyone here is family. They think of each other as family. Even though, there are little families within the large family. But if someone were to come into your tribe, this community, and say, who's your family? You would look around at everybody and say, we're all family. This card here is the disappointment card. So what I feel like is happening here is, because of your choices here, it's like it's been a few years later and they've been okay kind of accepting your choice because they've never had someone say no to a union or a partnership, because there's such sacredness in the partnership that it's like they almost expected you to go along with it, because they knew that you, out of your peers, basically really understood what is sacred, like what is just, I can't explain it besides that word keeps coming up. So they assume that, and yet you still said no. So it's not like it's a slap in the face, because it's like people here don't take things personally, but it's more like no one's ever done this before, so they're sitting back and watching and letting it play out for a while. And they really, because they don't know what to do. When someone says no, they don't know what to do because they never had it before. So this actually could also speak to you as someone who is meant to be making waves in the community, in your community. And you may find that you have made waves before where people don't agree with you, but you pursue anyway, and that's exactly right. Like, you are someone that can get away with that and should, because the waves that you make, whether it's in your family, your community, whatever it is, it's for the betterment of the people or area you're surrounding yourself with. So your energy is one that is transformative for also others who are around you. So if you've ever noticed that if you've ever moved to a new place or visited a place or whatever it is, and you notice that just being there, you're there at a time when something happens, like someone, it could be someone quits, or there's a disagreement or a confrontation happen. Basically, yeah. So basically, if you find that you are in those places when things, you go to a place and something happens there, or, you know what I mean? I can't explain it better than that. That would be your energy shaking things up without you even realizing it. So some of us come into the world with an energy that is very transformative, and it gets things moving, it gets things shaken up so that change can occur. It feels very much like you're someone that has that energy. So simply by the choices, your aspect made here, you're shaking things up, you're making it possible for new ideas to be born, or for others to make this choice as well, a new generation, that kind of thing. So let's keep going here though. So here it does feel like eventually what they did was they said, look, you are family, you're born here for a reason. However, your path doesn't, it feels like they say your path does not suit this place. And it's almost like they gave you somewhat of an ultimatum where, hey, come back and fall into line and be part of the family how you were meant to, with the arranged marriage, having children, whatever it is. Or maybe it's best that you go on your own path in your own way and pursue it that way. And I feel like there is actually a name for people like you who go out into the wilderness by yourself to pursue your own path, to learn more of healing and using nature and being one, like communing with nature. There's a word that they have. I'm not going to even try to say it because it's a different language, but you are of the people, and it's almost like it's a very rare breed here. So it feels like on this day is when you actually leave. You decide, okay, I'm not, I don't want to fall back in line. It's the same as today. When you wake up, you don't go back to living a normal life. If you left that 9-to-5 job to pursue a spiritual path, you're not going back to that 9-to-5 job, like that kind of thing. So you leave. And it feels like the disappointment it's a new feeling too. These more like lower vibrational feelings are new to you. It doesn't bring your vibration down, but if anything, this whole thing is raising your vibration because you're really coming into your own. But there's a disappointment in you're like, these people I'm with, my family, this village, this community, they are very in tune with the universal forces that I'm learning about. Like, we're all in tune. How come they can't adjust in this way and allow me to be me amongst them? And it really comes down to the fear of you changing everything. And they don't want all that change because, quite frankly, most of them are not ready for it. Your change has to do with the new generation. So what's going to happen is others who are your peers are going to ask about you. They're going to wonder about you. They're going to talk about you. They're going to say what happened. They're going to tell their children what happened. They're going to spread the word. You see? So, but all that change that's going to happen, you're not even going to see it. So that's a huge message for you, just so you know. You are not always going to see the change that you make in the world just by one person at a time. You're changing the world in big ways. You just are not able to see the waves of change that will occur from the moment you are in someone's energy and they feel yours, and generations down. You're not going to see it. You just have to know it. You have to know that what you're doing is purposeful and meaningful, and you're changing the world in waves. You just, again, won't be able to see it all. And it's hard because us humans, especially healers, we love the idea of being able to see the impact that we make on people. And sometimes we are gifted those beautiful nuggets where we get messages back from people telling us, you know, what we've done to help. And that's lovely, but you're not always going to get that. So if you get that, when you get those messages, keep them close to you, look back on them fondly, let those help boost your energy and boost your mood. And just think that, let's say you have 10 people writing you, that's only 10%, 1% even. Like, that's just such a tiny percent of the impact you're making on the world. So that's a message for you to just carry it with you, carry the knowledge with you. Even if you can't know it, this is an excellent opportunity for you to trust that information is coming through for you, to let you know that you are making a huge impact, and to keep pursuing and following that path that makes you most excited. And to keep doing that in order to continue making this very large impact you're making on people. Again, even if you don't know it, try to find peace in that. If you haven't already, try to find peace in the fact that you are helping beyond what you can even fathom. It's just you're not always going to see those instances. You're not always going to know about it. But you have begun a domino effect in many, many ways. So please keep that close to your heart, and use that when you need to push forward and move forward during hard times, or during times when you need a pep talk, or you need to know, hey, is what I'm doing worth it? Yes, it's worth it, big time, and it's going to grow, which is very exciting, and it feels very exciting. There's something coming. I'm getting goosebumps. There are things coming for you that will be developing within you that you will be remembering, and when I say remembering, it's things that you try, new things. To you, they're new, and you'll try them. And you'll become, it's very natural to you. And you'll say, wow, this feels very natural, familiar almost. That's you remembering. Even though technically you have to learn techniques and learn about it, because we have the veil that keeps us from remembering everything from our other lives or our oversoul, you know. But it's a remembrance for you, okay? So things will be coming to you naturally. But again, your job is going to be to continue to focus on the path of excitement and follow that through, no matter what people may say. Okay? Because that could be hard. So if you're able to do that, you're going to see a lot of stuff happen. This is also, when I was shuffling, I felt feelings like, oh, this has to do with your family too. It does. It has to do with your family in the way where those kids are watching you. You don't know how much they're watching you. So this is not a message for you to like, oh, stay in line because they're watching you. No, this is more of a message to, you know, it's okay to be messy. It's okay to not know. It's okay to show that you're not perfect and you don't know these things. And then it's your job to show them by figuring out how to solve your own problems. They're going to watch you solve your own problems. This is going to help them because you're good at it. You're going to, there's something about you solving your own problems, but making sure that you're not hiding your problems away from people. So if you are frustrated and there's a problem, even though, let's say they're kids, it's okay for kids to see their parents struggle with problems as long as the parents are making strides to resolve the problems, you know? So there's something about your kids seeing you cycle through the very human thing of coming up with, you know, having a problem, coming up against a wall, and learning how to either deal with the wall or maneuver past the wall, if that makes sense. So again, those kids are with you for a reason, and you are doing splendidly. Don't ever doubt yourself, okay? So let's go to the death and keep making connections here where you can. Also the idea of family, being community, being able to rely on neighbors and friends and others to help raise your children, to be able to trust people when you feel it's right, that you can trust them. Opening up to the community, opening your family up to the community. There's something about that. There also might be a yearning to be part of a community, because this was almost like an exile, but it was a self-exile. You made the choice, which is actually lovely. You making the choice. It's not like you're thrown out. So it's not like you would have issues of abandonment per se from this. It'd be more like you might yearn for a community that understands you. And if you find that you have found that community or are in the midst of finding it, that would make a lot of sense, because it's kind of like another cycle coming to a close where you had to leave your family and now you're returning to family, your soul family. Now let's go to the death. This is disease or illness. What I want to say, this feels like you're out in the woods. It feels like you're much older, and it feels like you live in the woods, quite frankly. It feels like you've created a home there. Something where there's a kinship with nature and animals. And it feels like there's a sickness that you get, and I want to say it has to do with an insect. There's an insect. You're not bitten by an animal, and it's not a poison. It's an insect, and it's a spreading of a bacteria. It feels like the insect is almost foreign. This could be a time when there's something almost like, okay, so they're showing me, like, you know how the rats brought over, I forgot if it's malaria or whatever it is, but rats came over on ships from Europe and wiped out a lot of people here because they weren't used to that bacteria, so there wasn't an immunity, is what it feels like. It feels like there is an insect that somehow traveled over and you don't have an immunity to that. So what happens is I feel like you spend weeks with fever trying to cure yourself with the knowledge you've gained. However, the knowledge you've gained does not work with the region from which this bacteria comes from. So this entire time that you're dying, you're also learning something. So there's something about you never stop being who you are despite knowing that you're inching closer to death, because there's something about your relationship with death as a shaman. So in your current life, if you have a good relationship with death or dying, or if you find that it's easier for you to deal with those who are dying versus, let's say, their family members, you're able to, cope with, or it could be a family member too. That's why I hesitate. But basically, yeah, the death and dying process, if that doesn't really scare you, or it could be a message for you to look into it, to come to terms with it because you're capable of it, because there's a part of you inside that knows that it's a very natural part of life, that death is a part of life, and you're able to see this beautiful cycle. And if you're not able to see that beautiful cycle, there's something about you focusing on that in a way in your life to where you get to a point where you can see that it is very natural and just another part of life, because I feel like it has to do with being able, again, to teach your kids or teach how to approach things in life that are scary and that other people are usually scared about or not wanting to talk about, that you would be someone that people can talk to about this. So I don't know about that. So make connections where you can about that. There's not much more I can say about that. This can also mean that if you're someone that, it could be so random. If bugs like you, if you're one of those people that you say, oh, I have sweet blood, the mosquitoes, every summer, those mosquitoes, they always find me, that kind of thing. Or if you have a weird fear when it comes to bugs or mosquitoes, in particular, little things that bite. That would be a connection. And if not, that's fine. But this is a rather peaceful death. There's a fever involved, yes. I don't feel like there's a lot of pain. I just feel like there's a lot of fatigue and heat. So you might be someone that does not like the heat. You might be someone that fights going to sleep. Or if you were someone that fought going to sleep, I'm sure now you want sleep a lot. But let's say you were a kid and it was hard to put you to sleep as a child, that would actually be something to take to think about, because as children we're very connected to what was once before us, our past lives, so to speak, in that place. Even when we couldn't more so when kids before they speak, very connected, very in tune. So I would ask your mom or your parents or whoever put you to sleep when you were a kid if you used to be one of the kids that you would fight sleep. Let's go to the lesson. Keep making connections where you can. This let go card, I feel like I do want to mention the let go card is to let go of any fears that we have been talking about. Also letting go of any grudges at all that you may hold against people in your life, if you're still holding on to anything where someone in your life or people in your life told you couldn't do something, or directed you in a way where now you feel like you should have made a different choice, that kind of thing. If you're still holding on to anything from your past, it's time to let it go. In that vicinity, when it comes again to other people kind of trying to put you on a path or tell you what to do or direct you a certain way and it didn't feel right, let it go. They have their own journey. So if anyone comes to mind when I'm talking about that, that's the person you need to learn to let go of anything you might hold on as far as not feeling good about them. And I am actually coming up with a technique to deal with that head on. So once I fully put that together, it's in its testing phase right now, actually. So I guess I'm mentioning this for a reason. If you want to be a guinea pig for me for this new technique I'm working on, you might actually be an excellent person to try that on. So we'll talk about that later. But here, the lesson. So the lesson learned here, this is the hard work card, the very, very, very hard work card. And where this comes in particular to this, actually doesn't have to do with learning the shamanistic techniques, because to you it didn't feel like work. To you it felt like a bringing forward, something that needs to come forward, that when you're super excited about that, when it feels the way that this feels, when you're excited about what you're working on, it's not work. It's not work anymore. So this is like a message to make sure that you, again, focus on what excites you, because it will not be work. It won't be, or if it is learning something, because I know before I spoke about, remembering things. It's not really learning new things, it's remembering. But the learning to remember these things, it should feel exciting. It should feel like you are, getting elbow deep into something that is just so fun and so intriguing to you and mysterious, that kind of thing. If it pulls you in that way, that's a message from this card to make sure that you are focused on the things that are pulling you in that way. Of course, we all have to do little jobs here and there that might be tedious, we have to pay the bills, yes, great. But overall, make sure that the work you are doing doesn't feel like this guy right here. You see the little person, he's plowing the field. Your work in this life should not feel like it's like a hard labor, so to speak. I'm not talking about literally physical. In your mind, mentally, it shouldn't feel like you're out in the field doing hard labor and that you're exhausted and unhappy. It should feel like if you get exhausted with the work you do, it's that happy exhaustion where you fall into sleep and you're like, I did a day's work and I did good. That kind of thing, the being proud of what you do. So I feel like that's the biggest thing from this card, is to make sure that, work hard, but make sure that the work that you're working so hard at feeds your soul and feeds your heart, and you're excited about it and moving in the direction of that work, okay? That's basically it. But make connections where you can, okay? More so with this card, if you can. Anyway, there is your past life. What did I want to say earlier? I said there were things coming through, and there were things about your work coming through. But I think we actually covered it when it was talking about, it had to do with finding your tribe and your people and your family, your soul family in that way. And I feel like we addressed it here as far as what you're doing now versus here having to be solo and go away and solo work, pursue this on your own kind of thing with not a support system, which you can totally handle because you're so strong. You have that inner strength that, there's a lot of people that don't have that, but you have it. But in this life, the yearning for the community that you didn't have here, that you now have in your current life, I feel like that's actually what I was really going for. What was coming through was, again, that community, working within the community, your soul tribe. So I'm sure we'll talk more about this later, but there's your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections and you got some nuggets out of that. And thanks for letting me read you.